Test cricket is a great leveler. That's the first thought that comes to your mind when you look back at the Bengaluru Test match between India and New Zealand. The winning margin at the end, 8 wickets, it does seem like a convincing victory by New Zealand, but it wasn't as one-sided as the scorecard suggests. This game, remember, is going to be a red letter day for New Zealand, considering that they've won a test match in India after 1988. I was reading a stat somewhere which said that about 10 to 11 players of the current New Zealand squad weren't even born when the last time New Zealand came to India and won a test match. So yes, it's a big day for New Zealand, but I think this win is more significant when you look at the context, and which is why I said test cricket is a great leveler when you look at this test match, because coming into this test match, New Zealand had probably the worst kind of lead up to this series. They had lost to Australia 2-0, they had lost to Sri Lanka as well in a test series in Sri Lanka, and were coming to India without being in the top 2-3 test teams in the world. In fact, they were almost out of that WTC final race. On the other hand, India, right now the number 2 test team in the world as per ICC rankings, and number 1 when it comes to this WTC cycle, playing at home, invincible at home, all of these things put together. Look at India's results versus Bangladesh in the series before that. All of that put together, it was a David versus Goliath sort of a battle. And let's not forget, New Zealand had also lost one of their premier players in Kane Williamson for this test match. So when you pitted these two teams together, India were the clear favourites, and yet New Zealand have triumphed, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, this Bengaluru win tells you test cricket, anything can happen, and it's a great leveler. Let's take a look at where this test match was lost for India. There are plenty of turning points you can look at. The first one that comes to your mind, you won the toss, but you decided to bat on a green pitch, on a pitch that had a lot of juice, on a pitch where there was overcast conditions. And Rohit Sharma, the captain, was candid enough to accept that he misread the pitch. So that's the first mistake you made. The second mistake leading up to that toss was that you were dismissed for 46. After you were dismissed for 46, nobody was really giving you a chance to win the test match from there. You had a chance. You could have turned around that test match if you dismissed New Zealand cheaply, and that is what India could have done. Instead of leaking about 350 odd runs as the first innings lead, that first innings lead could have been 250 if it wasn't for that close to 150 run stand between Tim Southee as well as Rachin Ravindra. So that tail wagging for them, 50 for Southee, 100 for Rachin Ravindra. If you had gotten those wickets earlier, who knows, the lead could have been 250 and India had a chance to win that test match. That was another turning point that the Indian team had. The other turning point after that, if you look at it, possibly was the fact that India was growing great guns. That partnership between Sarfaraz, Rishabh Pant was taking the game away from New Zealand, and then you had a mini collapse where you lost 54, you scored 54 runs and lost 7 wickets. And I think that was that other turning point. Had your tail wagged like it wagged for New Zealand, who knows, India would have put up a target in excess of about 200, 220 odd. This match could have been very different. The other turning point, that was right at the toss. India not playing that extra fast bowlers, but that is somehow related to the fact that India misread the pitch, something that Rohit Sharma also alluded to. So these are the areas where India probably would have lost the test match. But for me, the standout turning point, and that's a very unusual turning point, still happens to be that 6 that Rishabh Pant hit of Tim Southee. It went outside the ground, and what happened after that? You had to change the new ball. Before that, the new ball that was being used, Sarfaraz, Rishabh Pant were looking very comfortable. The next new ball that came after 7-8 overs of that previous new ball that had been used, because Pant really smashed it outside the stadium, that started to do a few things. And that happens, different sets of balls can behave very differently, and that's exactly what happened. The next new ball that came in was doing a bit more. India lost those 7 wickets in a jiffy. and then the 107 odd run target was never going to be difficult for New Zealand to chase down. As things stand right now, this loss has made things slightly difficult for India in the WTC cycle, but still with 7 test matches to go, they need to win 3 and they need to draw 1. That is something that you still see this Indian team doing. While you'll remember this test match for 46 all out, the lowest score that India have got at home and their 3rd lowest in history, I still think that most of the fans would still believe India are odds-on favourite to win this test series. 2 test matches remaining, Pune onwards, I think Indian team still favourite, because they have made it a habit of losing. That first test match happened very recently with England as well, but from there on they went on to win 4 test matches versus England, and I quite see this Indian team under Rohit Sharma do that to New Zealand too, and go with a lot of confidence for the Border Gavaskar trophy that will be played in Australia. Do give us a like if you're enjoying our content here on Sports Today. Share this video with your other sport loving friends, and yes, don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today. Nikhilnaz signing off.